Hello, Internet, and welcome to my review for Fairy Tail episode 280. When we last left our heroes, they were wrapping up the fight with Orochi Finn and Blue Note, who got, one shot by Natsu, because, again, Blue Note is just a lame villain, never does anything cool. But Blue Note got knocked out. Wendy and Shelia had this great moment, where Shelia assured Wendy that she'd be okay without her, and that Wendy should go and rejoin Fairy Tail, and so she does, and then the gang heads to the Rainbringer village that is, at this point, solely occupied by Juvia. And that's where we leave off. So moving right along into this week's episode, we open with a really, really unsubtle flashback of, the end of the fight with Future Rogue, as we were reminded that Future Rogue told Natsu who kills Frosh in 792, which is when we are right now. And I really wish they had saved this for later on in the episode. Maybe when, I feel like this flashback was at a different point in the manga, I forget when it was, but it was either during Natsu's conversation with Rogue, or during his conversation with Lucy, when we actually see the whole thing play out in the episode. I feel like that's when it was, actually. Because the problem is, with it where it is, it's just kind of like, as soon as Natsu says, we need to go to Sabertooth, it's really, really easy to put two and two together. Oh, Gray's the one that kills Frosh. Because, Gray's missing, Natsu needs to go to Sabertooth, we have that flashback in the beginning of the episode, whereas in the manga it was more like, why are we going to Sabertooth, until you finally realize, oh shit, this is what Future Rogue was talking about way back when. And I feel like that just worked a lot better than this did. So that's my first gripe of the episode. The rest of my gripes are all established in the manga as gripes and not anime adaptation stuff. So after that, they head to the Rainbringer village, where Juvia is. Juvia mistakes Natsu for Gray, yada yada yada. We have a quick little, Gray, fantasy that Juvia is, of course, famous for. And then we find out that by sitting out in the rain for so long, Juvia has come down with a really bad fever, which eventually leads to Wendy staying behind so she can, I don't know, sit the rest of the arc out, I guess? I don't know. But it made me wonder, we know that before Juvia met Gray, it rained everywhere she went. So did she just always have a cold? Was she always coming down with the fevers or something? I don't know. That just seems like a random... I feel like Juvia would be immune to that, because, she is the Rain Woman, and she's made of water, which we always forget, but she's literally made of water. So yeah, that was a random thing that came up. And then we find out that domestic Groovia was happening for a while, which still kind of... I'm of two minds of it, because, is that a spoiler? Yeah, I'll save my complaint for, a later time, maybe. But it is kind of feel like they have that big moment at the end of Tartaros, at Gray's parents' grave. So it does kind of feel like a natural, progression of that. They have this moment, and then they start living together, not really as a couple, as, Juvia is more than happy to complain about that Gray forced them into separate beds, but they still did live together. I guess they were just with Natsu running away. I guess they were Gray was just or Juvia was the closest member to Gray that was still around. And Juvia is more than happy to oblige. So yeah, that was it's a nice little thing to see there. Also glad, so there's a bit where, not after Juvia tells them that, she was living happily with Gray for about 6 months, and then about 6 months ago, Gray got this, black patterns all up his arm that we saw briefly in the fight with Margir last season, and after that he started leaving the village more and more, until eventually just did not come back around 6 months ago, and Natsu's like, oh, what a bastard to do that, and Lucy, I'm really glad, when we last time we've seen Lucy, she's been very, just happy to have Natsu back, and I really like that she does not let him off the hook, for his, like, abandoning her and the entire guild at the end of last season. And that's a recurring thing in this episode. The best parts of the episode are where characters have to reckon with their past actions, as we'll see with Minerva later on. But yeah, before we get to that, Natsu's like, yeah, we gotta get a Sabertooth, and then we cut to Avatar, and we find out that, oh, Gray's working with Avatar now. I'm going to try to treat this as someone who has not read the manga as much as possible, but with this arc, it's kind of hard to. Because this arc is just such... It's a lot. I'll get into it as we go on with the arc. But yeah, Gray is working with Avatar, which is this Zareth cult. And it actually, there's a later scene. I'll cut to that now, because I can't really talk about Evil Gray without bringing this up. Where, well, the first part is where Natsu posits that, like, Gray might have joined Avatar. I'll get into more of why he thinks that later. Because of learning Devil Slayer magic too fast, because it was just, like, gifted to him by Silver rather than him, like, learning it like other Slayers learn their magic. And as Gray points out, in the Avatar base, he's just so devoted to killing END. That, like, he's willing to work with anyone as long as it gets him a chance to, like, find the Book of END and destroy it. And, you know, as much as Evil Gray is an utterly ridiculous plot point, and I am this arc, for a bit of real-world context, came out shortly after the end of Naruto. And there was a bit of, like, a meta-theory that the reason for Evil Gray was because there was this void of, like, the great shonen rivalry had just ended between Naruto and Sasuke, and so there was this, like, need for, like, Majima wanted to, like, fill that void or something. And I'm not sure if that's real, but it makes the most sense as to why Evil Gray is here. But, you know, if you have to have an Evil Gray to have that Naruto and Sasuke dynamic, being corrupted by both Devil Slayer magic and revenge, just be so devoted to killing END that you abandon everyone, including Juvia, to join a Zareth cult just to find it, is probably the most believable reason for Gray to go dark. I don't think it's a great reason, but if we have to have Evil Gray, I guess it makes the most sense. Anyway, moving back into my chronological discussion of the episode. So... What happened? Sorry, I got distracted there. Natsu and Lucy are headed on the Hog to whatever town Sabertooth is in. I don't know what it's called. Sabertooth City, let's call it. They're headed to Sabertooth City. I feel like someone in the comments would be like, no, it's not Sabertooth City, it's... I don't fucking know what their town's name is. But, you know... A thing that happens a lot in the whole Sabertooth sequence is that this should be really dramatic. I remember in the manga, it was like kind of a tense moment. Like, Natsu knows something and we, the audience, don't. And though all these dramatic moments feel a bit played for laughs here. Both with Natsu facing Lucy on the Hog, and Lucy, like, and he's going on this whole, like, speech about, you know, we can't trust Gray if we want to find Gray at this point, because Gray might be evil, because Natsu at this point knows what Future Rogue was talking about, way back when. And Lucy's, like, Lucy just, like, ignores him and tries to get him to face forward, and I feel like that's just not really... It kind of, like, hinders the dramatic stakes of the, scene. As does, once they reach the Sabertooth Guild Hall, after, you know, encounter with Yukino and Sting and Rufus and... the Thunder God Slayer Orga? Question mark, I think? I don't know. You know, he hears that, Rogue and Frosh and Minerva are all headed out on a mission, and he grabs Lecter, and I remember in the manga, this was kind of like a tense moment. But the happy music doesn't even cut out when he grabs, Lecter. And, you know, the background is, like, goes all, like, happy, you know, stars and shit. And it just doesn't really work, I don't think. That whole sequence, along with the Sting became fat now joke, just didn't really work. But anyway, that does not stay long, because Natsu and Lucy run out. So they run into Rogue, Frosh, and Minerva. And Natsu just, like, grabs Rogue and does not stop. leaving Lucy and Minerva to like, greet each other, I guess. And I do, as I mentioned, with Lucy holding Natsu accountable, Minerva holds herself accountable for, the awful shit she did to Lucy, during the Grand Magic Games. And Lucy, to her infinite credit, forgives her. Given the fact that Minerva, like, fucking tortured her in the water sphere. Lucy's, I don't know, Lucy's a saint. I fucking love Lucy Heartfilia. She's great. Sorry, getting hiccups right now. Bad timing for hiccups. I'm not redoing this video. Anyway. The scene with, Natsu and Rogue. They're in this little, like, garden. Stop it. Stop it, you fucking hiccup. Stop it, you fucking hiccups. And Natsu does not really tell Rogue what's going on. He just, like, grabs the flyer and is like, yo, this is, to, like, destroy Avatar. And Natsu just assumes that Grey is a part of Avatar. But, like, does not explain anything to Rogue. And I feel like this is it's very Natsu, just like, I have a mission, this is what I'm doing, no one else needs to know what this is, and people will know as they need to know, and Rogue doesn't really need to know, he just needs to stay put, so he doesn't tell, Rogue anything. But by the end, he eventually has to tell Lucy what's going on. Because, he's traveling with Lucy at this point, so, like, he has to. Sorry, the hiccuping is really throwing me off. Okay, so. Even, so the thing is, I was really confused at first why Natsu just assumed that, like, this was the mission where Grey dies, or where Frost dies. Where Grey kills him. Because, like, even with Future Rogue telling Natsu that Grey kills Frost some point in around a year from then, that doesn't really put Grey in Avatar, and that this is the mission where Frost dies. But, like, I guess, Natsu does say, like, I don't know if Grey is here, I'm just guessing. Which is awfully convenient, I feel, and it's one of the reasons this arc doesn't really work that well. But the other reason the arc does not really work that well is that Avatar is so lame. And there are a lot of things that make Avatar so non-threatening. And I think the biggest one is that they just don't understand who Zareth is. Like, Arlok, the leader, has this grand, like, prayer to Zareth about, like, delivering souls to him. Like he's a god. But he's not a god who, like, claims ownership of souls. He's a man. A very powerful man who has lived for 400 years, sure. Wait, the 400 years, that's not a spoiler, I don't think. No, that's not a spoiler. Very powerful man who's lived for 400 years, but he's still just a man. He's not God. Also, all of the Avatar members are super lame. There's the Jeremy guy, I think, who is, like, kind of not lame. He's not anything special, but he's, like, not making bad puns or giving everyone stupid nicknames. They're just lame. Avatar is, like, a bunch of bad villains. But then we get my favorite, but at the very end of the episode, well, there's that whole scene with Grey asserting why he's a member of Avatar that I mentioned earlier. But then we get my favorite post-time skip character change, Council Enforcer Gajiel. Which, honestly, given where Gajiel, like, starts to the series, it feels maybe a little out of left field. But, given, he needs a place to go after Fairy Tail falls. And he had that little, like, bond with Belno, the council member back in the day. And, like, it's kind of the one place he'd go, being, like, a law enforcement official, gives him the chance to like beat people up if he needs to get out his violent tendencies. And it's better than just like being on the street, I guess. But yeah, that's where the episode leaves off. Natsu, Lucy, and Happy are right outside Avatar's castle. Gagio's squad is on their way, including Panther Lily. And beyond that, just a bunch of like faceless council guys. All headed to one battle with Avatar. And this is probably my least favorite arc in the manga. Oh, I'm really hoping the anime does something to make it better. I don't really have a lot of hope, just because, you know, the villains are already so lame, and as we found out with the start of the 2014 series, extending fights with lame villains does not always make it better. They did that with the Gara Knights at the beginning of season 2, and it did not work. But yeah, due to running out of things to talk about and how bad my hiccups are going right now, I'm going to leave this video off here. Hope you all enjoyed the episode and the video. If you did, feel free to drop me a like, subscribe, or do whatever the fuck you want. I don't really care. And as always, people, keep kicking ass, and I'll see you... Sorry. And I'll see you in the future. Bye!